The following is an excerpt from the book Experiences of Thought by Anthony Kahn, available now on Amazon.com and Kindle. Lucrative logic in matters of matter. Logically speaking, the language of the universe. We spent a good deal of the last chapter discussing the origin and influence of religion, but took it to task for its dogmatic tendencies. Dogmas are the antithesis of open-mindedness. But maybe, just maybe, should some things be held to in a dogmatic way? We have to be very careful here, and the answer rightfully should still probably be no. But what about things that are deeply intrinsic to our reality? Our journey now takes us a level deeper as we seek to come to terms with the language of the universe, logic. So what is logic? It tends to be defined in different, though related ways, depending on the field of use, though it principally concerns itself with deductive reasoning and the establishment of methodologies for sound thinking and investigation. For our purposes here, however, we shall invoke the term in reference not only to such reasoning, but also to describe the intrinsic properties and laws that govern our reality on the deepest level, for which we have a direct window into. Our world has attributes that are so inextricably a part of it that if we were to remove them, we enter the realm of sheer nonsense. How could you create a square circle? How could you travel forward and backward through space at the same time? How could you cut a single unfolded piece of string in half and end up with 3 pieces? All of these questions are nonsensical because they defy the logic of the reality in which we find ourselves. Could there be another reality where such things somehow make sense? Who knows? But it defies all reason to think along such lines. And as we are equipped only with the tools for making sense of this reality, it is best that we steer clear of seeing any sense in the nonsensical. So returning to the question of dogmas, it is actually quite reasonable that we can be dogmatic about our assertion that a square circle is an impossibility. Is it reasonable that we hold to a claimed, though unverifiable occurrence of history long since past as dogma? Arguably not. Should we be declaring further reasoning centered around such events as dogma? Certainly not. Should we hold to the common assumptions of science in a dogmatic way? We must always remember that an assumption is not by definition a fact. If we return to our brain experiment in the first chapter, it is reasonable to accept as fact that various parts of the brain are associated with the various functions of the conscious mind. It is not reasonable, however, to take as fact that those same parts of the brain produce the conscious mind. It may be reasonable to take on this later view as an assumption for the sake of an investigation, of course, but one cannot logically accept it as fact, for we must not confuse correlation with causation. It must also be remembered that any scientific findings that result from an investigation that assumes this or any other central tenet are only valid within the confines of that initial assumption. Understanding the distinction between brain and mind will form a very important part of the later chapters of this book. But for now, we shall focus instead on properties that we can logically infer from our observations of the world, the universe, and our life experiences within it.